You're not gonna zero to them.
Hmm?
Hopefully I don't.
Alright, there we go. Alright, so just post it in like turning scans. You want me to go first? Or do you want to go first? It's up to you.
You can go.
Okay, I just say that Milkman Man scales above the Overvoid.
I don't think anybody scales the Overvoid.
Okay, why?
It's been explicitly stated by Grant Morrison, I believe, in the interview, that the Overvoid is just like it's supposed to be like representative of like he's the actual white of the comic, right? And everything that's just written on the comic, he's just like making that come to fruition, right? So he would just basically transcend everything. He's just giving everybody power, so thus he would scale to it by extension. So like I don't think anybody will scale him.
Okay,
Because
I
he
just
would
like.
just
Oh, you're not done. Okay, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's fine.
I didn't hear what the end of that said. Can you say that again?
I was saying like he would just be giving Milkman Man especially people their power. So he'd be like strong.
Hold on. Somebody's mic is just straight ass right now. I'm gonna mute Jay real quick. And I'm gonna turn your volume up. Alright, can you say all that one more time? I couldn't really hear you.
Yeah. I don't think the Milkman scales the the Overboard or anybody in general. But it's been explicitly stated by Grant Morrison that he's supposed to be like the white of every comic, right? Not like the source white, but like everything just outside the cosmology you see white. That's just him, right? That's just part of his body, and he's supposed to just like whatchamacallit, make everything on the comic and put it into fruition. So he's like just basically making everybody, which would include Milkman Man and other people. So he'd just be stronger than him. Like Milkman just wouldn't scale.
Okay, well, I just argue that that's his own personal interpretation and would not be better than anybody else's. Just
Well,
death of the
no,
author.
the way the author works is that there's clearly an intention behind the story when they make a character or they make a certain art or like this anything in general, right? Like for example, if they make like a villain group that's supposed to be like on a direct counter to the hero, that you would just say narratively, right? That's what they're supposed to value and add up to. Therefore, that's what they are, right? Like if you was to try to claim that you're not gay because like you know your own sexuality, it's like that's your intention behind your statement. And obviously, I have to respect that because you know your own intention, just like how the author would know their own intention when they make something. Unless you want to disagree with that, logic, anything you say I can just disregard because my own interpretation.
Say that one more time. Sorry, I got interrupted by somebody coming in my room.
Everybody has an intention behind their statement. When you, like, for example, when you talk and you're trying to say my character scales to this tier, you're trying to scale them to a certain tier. You're trying to make them this strong, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be similar to an author when they're writing a story. They're like, I want a character to be this strong. I want them to have these statements, etc., etc. So we always have to take that into account because author intent does exist because we have intentions when we make claims or we just say anything about ourselves in general.
Okay, well, author's intent is not the only thing that matters when it goes into writing a comic book. Like, say, the author isn't the only thing writing it down. Like, he writes down the shit, but it goes through things like, producers and stuff like that, people who look over it, make sure everything's all right. So, like I said, it would still just be, like, one guy's intention out of, like, a whole bunch of other people. The writer isn't the only one doing all the major work.
Well, I think it would. If a writer's, like, writing a script down and, like, the producer's supposed to look over the script and make sure nothing's wrong with it, and then they're fine with publishing that thing. Like, that would just obviously mean the author intent just fine.
You could also just say that the author's intent could have changed afterward, too.
Well,
Not to mention, even within that same comic, there's a statement that literally scales above the Overvoid. Are you aware of the story of Superman statement?
What story of Superman statement?
The story of Superman the Overvoid has no defense against the story of Superman. I'll grab it. Here we go. Not to mention, this is all like. Not to mention the fact that even within like the Milk Wars story, they legitimately showed like people breaking through the Overvoid into Retcon Corp. I can grab that for you too. I'm sending it in Attorney scans.
Uh-huh.
I'll grab that for you. Like they literally showed Danny the ambulance just breaking through the Overvoid.
He looked up. Wonders have zero defense.
In
The
context,
monitor. Why does that include like the overvoid?
it's referring to the Overmonitor, which is the Overvoid.
I don't know if the overmonitor is the overvoid.
Why not? Why not?
Those two seem very specific, different names and wording. I would need you to prove it.
Okay. Give me a sec.
Also, isn't this like right before or after the Mandrake fight?
I believe it was before, but I haven't read Final Crisis
Yeah,
yet, so I'll have to go through.
if it's before, then that would just be wrong. If you understand, like Cosmic Armor Superman fought Mandrake, right? And like Mandrake and him are like relative, and they would just keep getting stronger.
That would just upscale Mandrake.
No, but the thing is, right? Mandrake literally fell into Overvoid, and he just got fucked up.
Okay. Like,
So
there's a difference
that
between
thing would
attack
be
potency
wrong.
and destructive. Like, he's not just gonna fucking punch the Overvoid and destroy it.
No, I'm saying what he. Okay. So like this, right? You agree that humans are bigger than each other, right? There are humans that are bigger than each other.
Sure.
Okay, so there obviously my fist is not as big as human body, right? Yeah, I can still punch something and one shot them, despite their size difference. Right? So if Mandrake was actually that strong and the Overlord had no defense, Mandrake wouldn't even get hurt like he just would have. So obviously that statement is just wrong, or it's not referring to the Overlord.
What do you mean by like are you saying he's getting hurt by the Overvoid?
Yes. He fell into it and he got fucked up.
No, he fell down into the dark multiverse. And then later
That's even worse. The Dark Multiverse could be weaker than the Overlord. Like what the hell?
Okay, but that doesn't say anything about his power. That wasn't my point. My point was the fact that he wasn't injured by the Overvoid itself.
If the Overvoid is above the Dark Multiverse, and the Dark Multiverse hurt Mandrake, that's even worse for you. There's like this. There were partly that invalidates that statement even more.
Why? Like, I'm saying that he's just falling down into the Overvoid. Like, what's there to punch? Like, it's like, put it like this. It's like, say we take a 3D thing and put it, like, in a 4D box. I'm not going to be able to, like, punch the 4D box. Like, that's why I said before that the attack potency would not inherently scale up to his destructive capacity.
You would agree, like, the 4D box would just be all around him, right? It'd be, like, omnipresent.
It wouldn't be ever, like, it would be around him, but it wouldn't be all throughout the 3D box. It would just be on the outside of it. It's like a fourth dimensional thing doesn't inherently exist within a 3-dimensional thing. It's above it. It's transcendental to it. I'm still grabbing that scan for the Overvoid one. My scan is working.
He fell into the place, which would mean that he can physically interact with it.
How?
Okay, think of it like if you fell into a box, right? And the box is able to interact with you, unless you want to say that the dark multiverse is just so much above Mandrake, he can't interact with it, which would still hurt the scaling in comparison to Overvoid again, because Overvoid above dark multiverse.
You've still yet to explain why. Like, put it like this. Like, I'm still saying that the Overvoid is like, say, like the thing that contains everything. Like, he still scales to Superman, who would scale above it. It's like, put it like this. There's certain characters who have fought like universal characters and should scale to them with that attack potency, but aren't able to just punch a universe. That's why I was saying before that this destructive capacity would not equal attack potency in this case.
I'm not arguing destructive capacity. I'm not.
What are you arguing?
I'm arguing that if he is this much stronger to the point where the Overvoid has no defense, he should not have gotten hurt by things on the level or lower than it.
What do you mean?
That's why
he's not getting. Like I said, he's not getting hurt by the Overvoid. He's just falling down into the dark multiverse.
He got hurt. He literally got hurt.
No, he got hurt from the fight with Cosmic Armor Superman.
No, I'll get it. Hold up.
He was fighting with Cosmic Armor Superman and then got knocked off and pushed off in nil.
Hold up. I'll get it.
Here. There we go.
Did you post a scan? You need to
Yeah,
look
I
at
threw it
it.
in tournament scans or tourney scans.
I don't know if that's Overvoid, like, because I'm pretty sure like whatchamacallit takes place in Final Heaven.
Final Heaven
Milk
is
Wars.
beyond the Overvoid.
I disagree with that.
Why?
So, and I'm saying, if like Yovermonder is supposed to be whatchamacallit, everything surrounding the comics, and he just putting like fiction into the story, that means he should be outside of everything.
What do you mean by that? Like, wouldn't there just be a higher level of a page? Like, say, if we were to take the statement, like, even if I were to take said statement of the over monitor just being the white page in this case, instead of just like a higher transcendental thing, like, there's other things, not to derail, but there's other things that have blatantly shown to be above said comic page, like the over spear in the field and all stuff like that. It's not like this is like a new thing. They've done this before. Grant Morrison himself has done this before. He's done the exact same shit with things being above the overvoid. Like, it's not new.
I don't think he has. I don't think he has.
Okay, give me a sec. I'll go grab this fucking shit. Like here, this is just one example. We have beings who are from the oversphere leaving the white page and going back into the oversphere.
I'm still not seeing like this doing anything to prove that like Dovervoid's below this.
Well, you were making the claim that the overvoid in this case would be the white page.
Yeah, I'm talking like the highest thing, right? So all you would just say in this context would be like, oh, this is just one of the stories inside the Overvoid as a counter, and then you would never be able to like disprove that
So
because
there's
obviously it
higher
can be
levels
stories
of the
within stories.
overvoid, is what you're implying?
No, I'm saying there's this one Overvoid, right? And then this is just a story inside of him that he wrote into, like, I guess like he put into himself and made. How you want to word it?
What? Why? Like, what kind of interpretation is that? Like, that's based off literally nothing. Like, mind you,
No, I'm basing this off the Grant Morrison statement, when the author intention is stating that he made Overvoid as this being who is just the highest point of cosmology that just puts everything that he interprets into the story as.
Can I see this statement, by the way?
Yeah, I'll find it real quick.
Okay.
Here is the scan for what it being stated, like Mandrake just being below the Overvoid. It's like literally stating like he fell into it, and how just the very idea of Mandrake was getting erased, which includes concept, since concepts are just abstract ideas.
Mandrake, the opposite of light, actually with the best. I can still hear him screaming all the way down into the even the idea of him is lost. The overvoid until the overvoid, the mind of the monitor. Also, your scan just kind of proves like the mind of the monitor would be referring to the over monitor itself.
Yeah, and obviously that's. But I'm saying like whatchamacallit. that's contradicted as well. I'm saying it's either contradicted or the overmind isn't the overminder.
Also,
Because obviously, like,
hold on, the idea of him
obviously,
even being lost is also contradicted due to the fact that a later Mandrax shows up.
no,
So
not
the
really.
idea of
You
him,
can just say the Overvoid like remade him or Mandrake has regeneration.
why?
Why? Because those are valid interpretations to fix a contradiction. That's why.
Okay, so if we're going by the fact that if like one interpretation would be greater than the other, I've already given overwhelming interpretations and evidence that would be above yours. So you know what I mean?
Not
Like
really. I just gave like a direct counter, and not only that, I've given you information to fix any contradictions you could do from my scaling.
yeah, so have I. I've already contradicted your claim that the Overvoid just cannot be surpassed in DC. I've already contradicted that multiple times by showing not only the Superman claim, the concept of the story of Superman claim, I've shown the retcon statement of them fucking breaking through the fucking Overvoid to get to Retcon Corp. I've shown the Oversphere people leaving the fucking comic book to get into the Oversphere. I've already shown overwhelming evidence against your claim.
Yeah, my counter was that Overvoid thing. That was Overvoid. That was Final Heaven. Final Heaven will just be encompassing Overvoid, so it's not him.
What do you mean by
That
encompassing the Overvoid?
it's just a smaller thing inside of the Overvoid. Like that's what I meant.
And you're saying that the white page in this case would be the Overvoid, like the thing that all comic books are written on, right?
I'm saying all comics in DC, not like all comics across all fiction.
That's what I meant. Yeah, of course. But even then, like the Overvoid in this case, like you read Milk Wars, right?
Yeah.
Like a character like Rita Farr, she climbs out of the page and starts fucking fixing shit. She goes through and fixes reality when he presses the button and fixes the Overvoid.
I don't think she fixed the Overvoid. I think the Overvoid just ripped that.
Fucking what? Based off what?
Yeah, I think the Overvoid just based off the Grant Morrison statement that I'm about to get right now.
That first off, not only have I gone against that statement by arguing death of the author, the fact that it's not only the author who's arguing. It's not only the author who's writing this stuff.
If you disagree with death of the author, I do not have to take your words into in consideration since you have no intention behind them. You must be wrong, right?
What do you mean?
Because death of the author is trying to say that like an author intent just isn't the case because of like you interpret the works differently, right?
Yeah, outside of writing the actual source material, and there is a difference between writing this, like being in the moment and writing the source material, and then outside of then after finishing writing said source material, making a different opinion on that. Yes, there is. Opinions can change. Interpretations can change based off further information given off other comic books. Like say,
explain it to me. How is an author's interpretation changing when he's already set the lines of work of a comic in stone? Explain
that he wrote those lines of interpretation beforehand. He wrote them beforehand. He wrote Final Crisis beforehand.
Prove that. I would love evidence for that.
Evidence for what? The fact that he wrote Final Crisis before going on that
the fact that he wrote these things beforehand and changed his opinion, and not that just some statements are just wrong.
I'm saying that there's the possibility that he could have changed. Like
I don't care about possibility. I do not care about no possibility. I want something that is the case. Fuck possibilities.
Can you send this interview statement, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Still waiting for that.
Let me get this. Okay, I found an interview. I just gotta get the specific text. Okay.
You got it?
Here is yeah, I have it. Here is the interview. If you look up whatchamacallit, like you know how you like find specific words on the page?
What do you mean? Like you like look up certain words?
Yeah, like I'll copy and paste the exact quote, but like if you want to find it yourself, I don't know if you have this, but on my thing, like you'll have this thing where it says find in page setting, and you type in the word, and
I don't
you
think.
can like look for different words that have that in it.
Oh yeah, 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 I see it. Yeah, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about. Okay,
if you just type in over and you go to I believe the sixth or seventh one,
gotcha, gotcha,
you'll
gotcha.
see Trent Morrison start to talk about overboard. I'll copy and paste the full.
Find okay, overvoid. Here we go. All right,
It's the eighth one.
it's the eighth one.
I think.
Okay, gotcha. I got
Yeah.
it. All right, give me 1 sec. I'm just gonna read through some of the other ones too. It
Mm-hmm.
might take me a
It's
bit.
fine. All right. Here is the exact things he said that I'm specifically using. His intention behind Overboard, his whole idea when he made it.
There's the white page. So you're saying that because he refers to this thing as like God and it's like condensing out stories, that there can't be stories beyond it?
No, like yeah, I'm just gonna say that everything inside DC, he's just making. That's it.
Okay, but like even then, like okay, nothing here implies that there can't be other stories beyond the Overboard. Like yeah, it's saying it's condensing out stories, but it's not saying that there can't be anything beyond it.
He's specifically saying that it's like the stories all in the DC multiverse. So So this would be like anything just in the DC continuity, just like he's just condensing. So unless you want to say like certain stories just aren't canon to DC, which would just be weird. And even if that was the case, it wouldn't be like it wouldn't even be relevant because that wouldn't even be inside the overboard in the first place. You just have to agree that all the stories inside
What do you
DC.
mean by it wouldn't be inside of the overvoid in the first place?
If what you're trying to argue is that it's not in the DC continuity, it's non-canon.
That's not
No,
what
I'm saying.
trying to argue.
No, I'm saying that like you're not arguing. I'm saying like if you did try to argue that, it just wouldn't work because that wouldn't even be relevant in the first place. It'd be non-canon.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, nothing here contradicts the fact that there can be stuff. Like, the DC multiverse in this case could mean, like, literally anything. It could mean, the DC cosmological structure, from stretching up to the source and so. It could just mean all of DC. Like, we have to make that, interpretation based off nothing. In this circumstance, there's nothing referring to the fact that he's just referring to the entire DC franchise.
I think he's clearly, like, referring to, like, the DC franchise. Since you okay, let me see what specific part. Okay. Oh, here's obvious reason. You agree that your void would just be beyond final heaven, right?
What?
Your void be beyond final heaven. We can get into that. Okay. Why do you think final heaven's above your void?
Like I said, the scans I showed earlier show that the Danny the ambulance fucking crashes through the white paper in this case and gets to final heaven. Not to mention there's another statement of it's beyond all but almost like it's beyond all but one thing, and when they say it's beyond all but one thing, they're referring to the Anonymous.
I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna ask this question, right?
Okay.
Why a random truck crashing into final heaven means it went beyond the overvoid? Now I'm not don't like use any other evidence, just that specifically. Why does that prove that?
It's contextual, like I said before.
No. Okay, so because it crashed into final heaven and no other piece of information, that's just enough to say it's above the overvoid.
No, I'm not saying that it's enough to say. That's why I said it's contextual. Okay. Like you can't just take one scan and use it as the fucking.
No, I'm just asking that alone proves it. Because if that alone doesn't prove it, what is the supplementary evidence proving it?
The what?
Is it the Superman statement when he says you can't even the overboard can't defend against it?
No, I'm referring to the one Haxon, the fucking hold on, I'll just grab the scan. Haxon the Archer, the Star Archer, whatever the fuck his name is, literally makes a statement that able to slide anywhere. Where's the thing? It's something like nearly outside of all things save one, and then they're referring to the Anonymous who are watching them do this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally making the statement that it's beyond all planes of existence, like all beyond everything. It's beyond all of stuff except for that one thing. It's beyond the Anonymous. Mind you, the Anonymous, even when they created Final Heaven, about the coffee. You've seen the coffee stain thing, correct?
No.
Okay, so the way that it's interpreted is the fact that they dropped a coffee stain on top of the cosmological structure on top of the overvoid, and that's how Final Heaven came to be. Final Heaven and Retcon Corp came to be. You've seen this? I'll grab the scan for you.
Yeah, coffee argument. I disagree with the coffee argument because all the map is saying is that the overvoid's above Destiny, right? And the overvoid being above Destiny doesn't mean that it's restricted inside the map.
Why not?
For example, you agree the DC multiverse map is smaller than the multiverse. It's just a representation of the map of what it is, right? Of the structure.
Sure, but in this case, it'd be like a higher dimensional representation of the entire multiverse.
Wait, why would it? Okay, so here's the kicker.
My point of the fact of it being beyond.
Wait, no. If you already agree that other maps are within the multiverse, despite it's supposed to be a drawing of the multiverse,
when did I agree to
why is this one random map in Final Heaven supposed to just be like a full-size representation?
Like I said, I didn't say it was in Final Heaven. It was the creation of Final Heaven. That's
not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say like that Final Heaven can just be, I don't know, bigger than this map inside the multiverse. But that doesn't mean that Final Heaven's been overruled.
And I'm still saying that is contradicted by the evidence that I've given before. Not to mention the fact that it's beyond everything, and then they show the Anonymous later within the comic. And then they show this, inferring that this is how they were created. This is how it was made
That's under
within
that's
Milk
under the
Wars.
interpretation. That your voice statement is wrong, and I'm trying to say that
You
you're
have
just
given next to
misinterpreting.
no valid evidence as
Yeah,
to why it is wrong.
that's fine. You can think that. We can leave this to the judge. We can move on under the assumption you want to.
Do you want to
If
go
you
to
want to.
conclusions?
No, because I didn't even go to my character scaling. That's weird.
Well, we can go to conclusions on this point.
What do you mean by? Oh, you mean by the point? I thought you meant the
No,
debate.
not the
I
debate.
don't think you conclude the point. I think the judge clearly heard what we said, unless Dream wants a reminder.
Yeah, it's up to him.
Yeah, just do conclusions on the points.
All right.
Okay.
You want to go first?
Sure. I think I won this because I'm using author intention. I explain why author intention is the case. I explain why disregarding intention would entail a lot of weird things, like me being able to just disregard your statement because I just have to take your intention into account. So I think by that logic, intention this should be taken. If that's the case, then I posted a Grant Morrison statement where he clearly clarifies that your voice is this representation, just condensing all stories inside the DC multiverse. And by that logic, we can just condense things like Final Heaven, stuff like that. Therefore, the argument of the story of Superman and shit, scaling over would just be wrong because not only is it higher than structure, also close to how Mandrak literally just got erased by the Overvoid. And Mandrak literally scales to the same Superman with the story of Superman. So it will make no sense for these characters to just scale above them and having and the person who's lower than them having no defense, yet he can erase them. So it will just lead to a huge contradiction.
Okay, I think that I won this point due to the fact that I gave overwhelming evidence opposed to his of the fact that the Overvoid is not the highest cosmological structure within the DC franchise and that there are things beyond it. I also I also explained why the point of the author statement does not mean anything in this case due to the fact that there's other things that go into making the comic, and the author statement is not the only thing that adds to it. It's not the only thing that makes the comic book the comic book. The comic book creator can have their own interpretations, but say if somebody were to produce it or the producers were to make slight changes, it would still change a fair amount within the comic book thing. As a matter, and there's also the other stuff that I said that the statement itself of the Overvoid, as we call it in Final Crisis, the DC multiverse has somebody drawn on it. That could mean literally anything from the DC multiverse itself to the DC franchise, and there's no interpretation that you can make that could be correct in that sense. I also showed the fact that the coffee stain in this case would be above and work in the cosmological map, and it's above the Overvoid even on the cosmological map. I explained why that would be correct due to the fact of it being a higher dimensional structure, and is supported by my previous claims of the ambulance breaking through the Overvoid into retcon, and the statement of it being beyond all creation except for one. That except for one thing is the Anonymous.
Hoodie, you're recording this, right?
I am.
Okay.
Why you want live recording after this to look it over?
Well, I have to do something for a little bit.
How long will it take?
How long? I don't know yet.
Alright, well, before we start
yeah.
I want to go fill up my water bottle real quick, so.
Okay, yeah. I'll be back, but since it is being recorded, I'll just listen to it from this point on. If I don't make it back.
Well, I'm gonna pause the recording right now. Okay, so do you want to start your scaling for Harley Quinn now?
Yes. So, are you aware in issue 50 of the one in issue 50 in one of the Harley Quinn issues is literally stated that that what Harley did was just way more impressive than anything in Milk Wars.
What do you mean by that?
Here, post it. Look in term scans.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this one feat that Harley Quinn did was just way more impressive than something that happened in Milk Wars right here. She just basically destroyed. She retconned the whole continuity, and they were like, "Damn, bro, this is on a much greater scale than Milk Wars." You can see it in the last scan, bottom right.
Who's saying that?
A character who clearly knows about Milk Wars.
Okay. But who is it though?
a character who knows about Milk Wars. Like I don't have to give a random name. Like I don't even know most of the names of some of these people in the
Okay, but
scan.
why would her opinion on what happened within Milk Wars? Mind you, at the end of Milk Wars, all of the people who were in Milk Wars forgot what had happened.
I don't think you can prove they forgot what happened since they clearly know like the thing got reset. Like
No, they had understand that there was a big fight that had happened, but they had no reminiscence of anything that had happened in Milk War and in Retcon
I don't
Corp or
think you can
Final
prove
Edit.
that.
I definitely cannot. I can. It's at the end of Milk Wars.
Okay. You can go ahead and prove that.
Gotcha.
You also know like the whatchamacallit, like the stuff that was happening in Milk Wars were also like Milkman, right?
What do you mean?
Here. It stated multiple times that like the retcons that were happening during Milk Wars were not only did it like retcon Milkman multiple times, he also just can't survive the ending doom of the erasure that's happening
When were either of those things stated?
in Milk Wars. I'll get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm referring to after when Rita Farr had stopped the ultimate failsafe.
Here is one of them. I'll get there's like multiple. I'll get them all. There's one where they literally like claim like the backstory of Milkman Man got retconned. The other one, let's see, which one is this?
Is that Harley Quinn's mom who's saying that?
Which one?
The one who's
this
saying,
is worse.
"Oh God, this is worse than Milk Wars." Is that
No,
her?
she got erased. No, she got erased. No, Harley Quinn's mom got erased.
Okay, I was just trying to. I haven't read the comic in a minute, so.
If I would make a claim on it, just based off like what I know, that would be like a character from Milk Wars who knew about the event, or like someone who has knowledge of what happened to make a statement on it. But I don't know the specific name of the person though.
Well, there's a difference between, say, like hearing about something and knowing the full scale of something. Like, say, like there's certain things that like people can't necessarily process without like experiencing. Like, would you
Not
agree
really.
with
Like for example, like let's say like they say this right. They say for like because obviously what they're hearing about is like feats that happen, right? So if a feat is like
But even then, the feats that had happened from the memory of the people who were in said feats was hazy. It was very hazy of the people at the end of Milk Wars.
that's debatable, but whatever. Prophet. Let's say this for example. Prophet. I say like Prophet beat Nell, right? I tell my mom that, right? So it's obvious that like okay, Prophet scales above Nell is based off of that, and then my mom sees Prophet lose to some rando. Like my mom would have enough evidence to say like okay, this rando would just beat up Nell and shit, just based off of those two interactions.
I'd say that's just a false equivalence in this case because, like, say you tell your mom that, right? But she doesn't know the full scale of how bad Nell got beat. Like, say if their debate was like neck and neck and it came down to a judge's decision, like like it was a very close, like each people made valid points and whatever. Yeah. If you just tell your mom that, like, oh yeah, this happened, she's not gonna fully understand like how that happened or how like the full structure of said debate. So there'd still just be a misunderstanding of what went down. And the reason I brought up the thing that there's a difference between
when this random person can beat someone who beat Nell like that. I don't think like how difficult like Nell and Prophet are in correlation to each other would matter if this random person can beat someone who beat Nell. Like,
okay, well,
I don't think that matters.
What was the topic of said debate? There's so many like missing clues to that sort of thing that it's like it just doesn't make sense to use in this scenario, which is why I was bringing up the thing of I was gonna say there's a difference between understanding and processing what happened. Like, say, I understand that the sun is massive. I would never be able to process the full capacity and size of the sun. I would never be able to without, like, experiencing it without my
The
fucking
person
brain
would tell you about everything that happened, obviously. So the person would just tell you like how big the sun is, et cetera, et cetera.
Can you prove that they told this woman that everything that happened?
You agree they know this woman knows about milk wars, right?
Sure, she would be getting at least a tiny bit of information from a
So,
couple of
the
people who had
obvious
hazy memories of
conclusion,
what happened.
would know that she knows the exactly who got erased, what was happening, et cetera, et cetera.
No, that's not the obvious conclusion. There's a difference between knowing about a broad spectrum of things. Like, say, no, I don't want to use the Holocaust as an example. That's kind of disrespectful. Say, like a war. You take a war, for example. You take two sides fighting against each other. You understand that each side had massive losses, but you don't understand the intricacies of said war, of the amount of people that died, the people themselves who died, the people in this case who got erased, the scale of which this thing happened. It's all just hearsay to this random woman. If there's no reason to take this statement as fully valid, then it shouldn't be taken as fully valid, even within context of this story. Neither of us know who the fuck this woman is, right? And I'm telling you that this woman's statement of it being beyond anything in Milk Wars just doesn't mean anything if we don't know why she would know the intricacies and why Milk Wars was such a grand experience, especially due to the fact that at the end of Milk Wars, the people's vision and memory of said thing happen was hazy. So this statement can just be kind of disregarded.
Hello?
Yeah, you there?
Okay, where did I disconnect?
I'm not sure. Did you? I think you did.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
Like the thing about her, like, what did you hear me? Because I was the last one talking. What did you hear me end off on?
I heard you, stop talking. Like, I went on to ask a question, but like, I don't know if you heard the question.
No, I didn't. So I was saying that, like, there is a big difference between understanding the intricacies of, like, a war. Like, I can understand that something like big happened in a war. I can't understand the full grand scale of said war without experiencing it. Like, I can imagine, like fucking I can imagine two sides of the group of people fighting each other, killing each other, but I will never understand the intricacies of what said happened, especially if I was getting, like, my recollection of and my understanding from somebody who doesn't have a solid recollection of said events. Like, say, if you were getting...
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that.
Say that again?
I'm still waiting for you to post, like, they just don't remember.
Sure. Oh, that's the wrong thing.
Like, I want like specific specific stuff saying like they don't remember like the powers in erasure, like how strong like the thing was.
Well, actually, they misinterpret the powers in erasure. I'll grab the scan real quick. Math memories don't quite fit. Whatever. Just have to write.
Here is Milkman Man saying he would get destroyed by the fucking bomb. It was like oh, we can get it.
The last memory. That's it. Everything's burning. They're in the same world, and that same scan, by the way, is contradictory because what they were doing there is what they were erasing. They were like erasing stuff. By the way, like they were erasing narratives, and you understand that like he's like exact copy and clone of the Superman. He was like a clone of a copy of the Superman story, the Superman narrative, right? Just like with their added own narrative injected into it, right? You know that?
That's fine.
Exactly. So if they were just adding onto the narrative and it's an exact copy of the previous narrative that they were unable to manipulate, I'd just say that in this case, that Superman or Milkman Man would be unaffected by said bomb and was just scared.
You know they did manipulate him, right? You know they did manipulate Milkman. Like he was literally a bad guy working for them.
I know, that's what I mean. They injected their own narrative into it on top of the regular
okay. So by that logic, that means they're controlling an amped version of story of Superman, so they would just scale above him.
Well, no, there's two narratives within him. There's an injected narrative that is added on top of
his own narrative, but that would just mean one thing, right? That would just mean in order for them to control the story of Superman, that the narrative they injected is stronger, which would just mean they scale above him, or that those two narratives combine together, and even then they can still control him. So either way, it's a dead point.
I'd just say that even within the regular Superman narrative, there have been cases of a narrative within Superman that have been evil Superman too. So like there can be obvious variations of certain other things.
But like even with these things, like they still like clarify that they're going to get erased, and even Superman agrees. And the only reason why they survive is because I think the Doom Patrol, like they all just like engulf and just grow big and shit, and like Rita Farr comes and shit. Like that's the only reason why they survive.
Actually,
like
they don't really explain why they grow big. The only real explanation on why said expansion stops is when Rita Farr stretches across like the fucking all of Final Heaven and stops it or whatever, and like repaints all of the narratives or whatever at the end. Well,
if you want to say like it's Doom Patrol, Rita Farr, it's not Milkman, man. So.
Okay, but my point still stands on the fact that we have no idea if said bomb, if it hadn't been stopped, would have actually killed and destroyed Milkman Man's narrative.
Well, it's literally stated that he was going to get erased by his own person, and I think that his mom.
Where did you say that?
Like right above. Like we're above the 3 scans I posted.
What is that? Everything that's burning in the edges farm. There's anything in there. Everything. We can stop it somehow. We cannot like this.
Yeah, like they like I think his mom or sister. She's like, yo, we can stop it, right? And then he's like, nah, bro, we can't stop this shit, bro. We're dying. Like he blatantly knows.
No, he doesn't know that. He doesn't say that anywhere. He's just like, oh, I lost planet. We gotta put it offset.
I'll read it verbatim. They couldn't turn people the same. So they're ending the world.
Where did you read?
No, nothing. Okay, here I'm just gonna repost the scan.
I think I know what scan you're talking about. I just don't remember what
this one?
Like what you're talking about. Yeah. And nowhere does it state that Superman is actually going to die here, but he's saying because due to his naive nature and due to how naive Milkman Man is, he's just terrified of the fact that everything is burning up. They
literally say, right? They're ending everything. And then his mom or sister like, we can stop it somehow. We can. And then next panel, he says, no, this is it. Don't lie. You know it is. Like, he literally just disagrees with her. Like,
and I'm saying due to his naive nature and the fact that he's been lied to his entire life, he doesn't know how his own narrative works. He has no clue how it works. He has absolutely no idea.
The fact that he did get retconned before, like his backstory in like the first 4 scans. Like,
and I already said that was due to the fact that they added their own narrative, injected it.
But that still means that like a weaker version of like technology that they're using, just like neg Milkman Man. So like it just follows that.
What do you mean obviously by neg Milkman Man? All it did was add on another narrative to it. Like there's nothing implied.
It retconned him. It literally retconned him.
How did it retcon him?
It changed his backstory. Retconned him.
It was pretty much the same as Superman's backstory, just in this place. It was like, oh, a rocket ship lands, he gets birthed by mom and dad, and doesn't have his mom and dad, and then goes.
But you agree his story got changed, right?
What?
You agree his story got changed, right?
Yeah, but even like regular Superman's story gets changed.
Yeah, but that's fine. That still means they can retcon Superman's story, which is that's still a point in my favor.
What do you mean?
Okay, so you're trying to say, oh, we don't know if this thing would actually hurt him, right? Or like erase him, right? But if I'm showing you that like they already have the ability to retcon Superman already, it would follow that they literally can just retcon and erase him before again.
When have they ever showed Retcon Corp themselves, mind you? When have they ever shown the ability to retcon thing? Like I've already said that they're adding in their own narrative here, right? You agreed to that. They're adding in their own narrative. That's how they're changing.
I believe changing something in any way, shape, or form is a retcon.
Changing something in what do you mean? Like
for example.
Right, if I add something onto it, does that mean change? Like this Batman doing
that would be a change by definition. Like for example, let's say like the original story of Superman is like he was born on Krypton and like he flew to Earth and some shit, right? But in like the retcon corps, they added more things to the story, right? That would just mean that they changed it verbatim. What things? I don't know. Like he crashed into an asteroid instead of this not crashed into one beforehand. He was a grown up instead of a baby, etc., etc. That's them being able to change his story. That can affect them.
And I'm saying that's due to the added narrative that Retcon Corp added themselves to it.
That's not a point.
I'm saying it's not necessarily amping said narrative, the said narrative of Superman. It's just adding another one on top of it, layering it on top.
But so that still means they can change his stories. They can affect him. Like that doesn't help you.
Yeah, I'm saying that like okay. I don't think you understand what I'm saying here. Is that like the true basis and the true concept of Superman within Milkman Man is still there. But the fact that they like changed, and I shouldn't say changed, the fact that they added another like narrative layer on top of it means that they haven't yet changed and retconned said narrative of the story of
They
Superman.
did. I really posted this scan where it just says they added shit in there. That means they did change
I'm
it.
arguing against that. I'm saying that adding something on
Okay.
top of it doesn't mean
So
anything.
adding
Like,
something
if I were
would just mean okay. So I'm gonna give this. I'm gonna give you the simplest way, shape, or form. 1 plus 1, right? You agree? That's just one thing. That's an example, right?
Sure.
Now, if I gave the same example, right? But I said like I don't know, like +1 or -1. You agree that'd be like a different example entirely, right? Because something else is added. It's not the same verbatim as the other one.
Okay, but something else is added here, but it doesn't change the other two previous
It does. It one verbatim. Okay, by definition, verbatim would mean the same in every exact way, shape, and form. Which would mean that if, for example, if my first example is 1 plus 1, and I was trying to say my second example is the same, the second example would have to be 1 plus 1. It can't be 1 plus 1 minus 2, because if it is, that means the example got changed. They cannot be the same verbatim at all. That's definitely wrong. So it's either you agree that he got retconned, because we know they added in stuff, therefore his story did get changed, or you can just say that even though despite they added in stuff, he didn't get retconned, even though I'm already trying to show you that you adding in stuff does this change the equation.
It changes the equation, but it doesn't change like the basis of one. One in this instance would be the story of Superman, right? But you're not adding something onto that, like specifically. Like say you're adding 1 plus 1.
And
right?
I don't know where you're getting this. I don't know where you're getting this weird thing where 1 is the story of Superman. I'm saying that 1 is like
what was this analogy?
event in the timeline. I'm saying 1 is events in this timeline. Like 1 can be like him like as a baby going to Earth, and the other one can be him.
Are you saying that a retcon is just a certain event that's different from, say, like the main Earth Superman is something happening?
Yeah. Any change, whether it be major or small, is a retcon. That is a change. Yes.
What do you? Okay, so like, you would agree like adding something onto it would be a change?
Yes.
Okay. So hold on. In this case, if they were to add like say a new power, like say Superman, there's nothing contradicting.
No, it would be contradicting the fact that it just wasn't there in the first place. Like we see what happened. He didn't get this weird power where he can like turn fucking giant as a fucking like I don't know, like a 4-story building. Like that's just different. Like they changed it. They actually added that there. Like it's got retcon.
And I'm saying that like that would not fall under like let me grab the definition of retcon.
The way I'm using retcon is a change in story, whether it be major or small.
And change in story. Like I'm just grabbing, like I'm just going to fucking Google like Oxford.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like Oxford's definition of.
Because it's obvious, like what that's what they're using when they say retcon.
What do you mean? In a film, television series, or other fictional work, a new piece of information that imposes a different interpretation on a previously described event, typically used to facilitate a dramatic plot shift or an account for an inconsistency. In this case, adding something on top of it would not fall under the term retcon. Imposing. Let's look at the definition of imposing. I knew you were gonna try to like do this, but like you're a weirdo. Like it's obviously when they say like retcon, they mean like they changed his story, whether it be like a small change. Like how can you make that interpretation based off what's stated? Okay, because they're saying retcon, and we know is that they added stuff to it. So it's obvious, like the basic conclusion would follow that's how they use retcon in this context. But if you're in debate going to argue semantics that fucking imposing is like a major contradiction, I'll just get definition of imposing and just argue it implies to this Milkman thing. Since you want to be weird, not just like take context as face value. And I'm saying that the context that you're trying to say is like changing this entire fucking thing just doesn't make sense in this case. Like why in what context implies that they are using the word retcon in a different definition here? Okay, so if they're using retcon, it's like they believe they already retconned them, right? And the only thing they did was just add information to his story. That would just mean the way they're using retcon is adding or changing his story. That's literally what that literally follows. Say that one more time. If they say they retconned him, right? And even Superman believes this, right? That would just mean that
the way they use retcon, based off what is shown, is that it's like them changing the story or adding something in there. Whether it be changing like a them, I don't know, like
What
making him
implies
adult
that?
with a child.
What
What
implies that?
implies that?
Yeah.
The fact that all they did was change his story, yet they still call it retcon. And the only change that happened was they added a few events, like
When
you
did they
said.
call what they did to him a retcon?
Okay, here. First, I'm gonna get the imposing definition. Impose.
Oh, I can
Imposing.
just find the scan that you're talking about. I'll grab the imposing definition.
Okay.
I'll just grab the first one, the adjective definition. There. Let me grab the scan of them also stating that they can't affect his narrative as well.
Here is literally here is someone looking at what the Retcon Corporation has done, and they literally see that they like literally been affecting Milkman Man. This is the scan I'm talking about. This is what I'm referencing. They just looked at the computer, looking at what they did, and they see Retcon Corp just messing with Milkman Man.
What do you mean?
So,
like, how is that shown here? Like, you know, he has his dad and whatever. Like, yeah, but that's all done before. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen this sort of shit before, but it's not retconning the very essence and story of Superman.
What do you think I'm using retcon in a way here? Like, what do you think I'm using it?
I'm assuming that you're using it in the definition that I provided. That would make sense. I'm just using context for the reason
I'm using it in a way to where they just add something or change something.
Why?
Change in a way. Why? Because that's obviously what happened. You agree? You agree? Just all they did was change something.
That's what happened. But I'm saying that it's not a retcon.
Okay, so then that's how they're using it. Like, what the hell?
How you have yet to provide any proof that that's how they're using it.
If their whole thing is just retcons, and then he looks at what they've been doing, and he sees Milkman Man on the logs, the basic conclusion would be that they retcon Milkman Man. Like, that is just deductively valid. That follows. I'll give you an analogy. Let's say like a children, right? P1 would be like, men shoot guns. P2 would be like, I am a man. The conclusion would be that since I'm a man, I shoot a gun. This would be synonymous to this situation, be analogous, because Retcon Corp's retcon things. We look at their logs to see what they've been up to. We see Superman in the logs, so the basic conclusion would be that they affected Superman in some way. Milkman Man, whatever you want to call him. Now, where is it saying in this scan where they couldn't affect him?
Superman, however, was more resistant. His symbolic lineage, direct line from the god of doom. We tried repeatedly, but his formula cannot be adjusted. And that's why they copied it and then added said narrative on top of it so they could make minor changes. But the essence of Superman is still within it. And that's why I showed the fact that they added the narrative on top of it and why they're not actually affecting said narrative of Superman.
Okay, let's see. There's Lens of Heroes Evolution.
That's why the adding of their narrative is so important in this case and important in this point.
Within the adjustments for formula is simple. Superman, however, was more resistant. His symbolic lineage is a direct line of the heroes. We tried repeatedly, but his formula couldn't be adjusted. What is this formula? What do you mean by formula?
His story.
You sure his story?
Narrative, I should say, in this case.
Are you sure that's what they mean?
What else would they be referring to?
Something different, like, because I think if they were to like, if let's say like they mean formula when they say like story, if they can really make a perfect clone, then that'll just mean
would you agree that the narrative is like the basis for a hero? Like I can't write a Batman story without a narrative, like without the narrative of Batman. You know, like,
Sure.
you can't just fucking, like, it's not going to be a Batman story. Or, well, I guess it would be a Batman story only by name, but, like, you can't write a Batman story where he's fucking one day, like, in the main continuity, like, one day, Batman's walking around with his parents, and he's a fucking 3-year-old with a lollipop in his mouth. Like, that would be a major adjustment to said schematics in this case, or said formula of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I also
in this
think
case, they would be referring to narrative.
I also think like someone being changed from a baby to an adult would be like a change in someone's narrative as well.
That's what I mean. That's why I said they implemented the other narrative. That's why you can use that to explain away certain contradictions.
No. But they saying like they copied it and added stuff later on, which would mean they just can affect him. So
they can affect
that's
the
why
other narrative that they implemented in.
Yeah, but this other narrative would have also the same Superman narrative. So it just seems like that statement's like wrong.
It's their own narrative. That's what they say. They said they implemented. They made a clone. They made an exact copy of said Superman.
Yeah, then they added stuff. The exact copy would have the same resistance. Like it just makes no sense. Like
exactly. That's why I'm saying they're adding. There's nothing implying that there's like there's a difference between say like subtracting or taking something away from something. In this case, they're just layering it on top of it, which wouldn't inherently adjust said narrative beforehand.
Okay, I'm just gonna give you this analogy. You agree 1 = 1, right?
Sure, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Milkman man, by their own standards, is a 1 as well, right? And by their logic, they can't affect a 1, yet they still do affect a 1.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they are layered on top of each other, not exactly merging into 1.
That's not. I think okay. The reason why I'm bringing this analogy up because I'm just saying they can control this 1.
They control.
I don't care if like
that they inject.
I don't care if they like merge the things. I was just like a sub thing. Like that wasn't even like a main point that I was arguing. Like I'm pretty sure like I brought up like a different interpretation. That was just one interpretation I brought up. I'm just trying to point out that they made a perfect copy. Same thing. It's 1 is 1. They already can't affect 1. They wouldn't. It would obviously lead that they couldn't affect Milkman as well, but they did. So either the conclusion would be that the prior statement was wrong, or that they got better technology later on and managed to do this. Like this, a lot of stuff. Fix this contradiction.
If you can, why would you make the direct interpretation that would make the contradiction within the exact same scan? That's just like it makes
not
no
really.
sense. When you can you can make an interpretation
another interpretation. I provided another interpretation that stops contradiction. I just said like they got better technology later on, which helped them retcon. I said that. If you want to go into that,
considering this happened all within like the same time span, that's not a good interpretation to make.
Do you not think I can get better in? Okay, I'll give you an example. Like when I used to go to school, I used to do Latin. I was like so shit at Latin, I didn't pay attention. I didn't even know what most of the words mean. But then randomly one day, I didn't even study. This one day, same time frame when I was just ass, I just got better out of nowhere. And I was like, oh shit, I understand these words now. I can like form sentences. Like that's literally like I think that's perfectly fine to make an interpretation just based off of that.
And I'm saying that in this context, it would be a leap in logic to assume that they randomly got.
I just gave you an example where it wasn't an example,
and I
okay, then it isn't a leap in logic.
That doesn't imply.
Like you're just arguing from a third D now. You're gonna argue from a third D. I can say I can do the same thing to you, and then we'll be stuck in a stalemate.
How am I arguing from uncertainty here?
You're saying because it's a leap in logic, it doesn't make any sense. But by that logic, I can say, oh, you go arguing against me is that like a leap in logic. Don't try that, bro.
I'm saying that the interpretation that you can make here without actually just contradicting the scan should be the most important interpretation.
Well, I'm not. I just gave you an interpretation that had no contradictions. Just say they got better technology, like.
And I'm saying that interpretation is not implied by the scan.
Well,
in no way is it implied.
They can affect something they couldn't affect previously. Like I think that's pretty fine. That's like me saying earlier this day I lost to Prophet, right? Then I faced Prophet again, who same strength and everything, and I beat him. Like I think that's pretty indicative that I either got stronger or got some kind of amp.
And okay, you're misunderstanding my point here. I'm saying that, like, first off, I've already said that they haven't.
And I'm not talking about a debate. If you want to say like, a debate stands the topic, I'm talking like a fight. Like,
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay. Whatever. But that's also different. This is like there's like within fighting, you can learn how to do shit like that. You can learn techniques from fighting. In this case, there's no implications that could be made to the fact that they just somehow got random like over time, sure, they might have gotten more technology. And as a matter of fact, earlier within the fucking comic, they show, the baby taken out of the rocket ship, whatever. Once the people landed in Retcon Corp, when they drove Danny the ambulance through the Retcon Corp, you see them take the baby out. They put him in the rocket ship, or they take him out the rocket ship or whatever. This was all right after they had crashed into the thing. So if you're trying to make the claim that they somehow they just jumped up in technology tenfold after like fucking 20 years when they had previously been struggling with said thing.
I don't think that baby thing is like right after. I think like the baby thing is just like once they got the technology, because that whole thing is supposed to show past events.
Does it? I don't.
Yeah, like he's like he specifically said in the scan, let's see at what they've been doing or some shit. So like it would imply like past events. So you just add in the fact that they got the technology at that
That
time.
was in
That's like
Doomsday
a
Clock,
some
right?
boy cause.
Not Doomsday Clock. That
Um
was in Doom Patrol, not Milk Wars.
I'm talking about this scan, right? The scan I posted above with the guy looking at the eyeball, like
Yeah,
that's
I
in
know.
the
I
Milk
know.
War.
Is it?
Yeah. At least the Milk Wars I got from Read Comics Online is like a part one, part two. That was in like part two when Swamp Thing came.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I read through that one earlier today, but that one seems like disjointed.
What? That's the same. I'm pretty sure that's the same like one when like they meet Doom Patrol and shit.
It might be, but I don't. I don't remember if it was like in order of like release or whatever. I'd have to like check, but this that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, I think I'm just gonna check Doom Patrol because I'm not sure if it happened in here or one of the Milk Wars things. But I do think I remember it happening on like issue 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So. Yeah. So my argument would just be like Harley Quinn. Someone who literally knows about Myth Wars, just saw what Harley Quinn did and said this is like a much greater effect than what Milk Wars could ever do.
Like I said, I've already argued against that, but once we get off this point, we can go back to that.
Wait, you agree like I'm just gonna you agree like read it far, but scale above everything in Milk Wars, right? Considering like she stopped it and like expanded and shit.
In Milk Wars,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like here, I'll even show you a scan. Rita Farr quite literally says at that point in time specifically, she was everything.
Oh yeah,
Here,
she had
obviously,
merged with like
yeah.
the white page in this case.
Mm-hmm. So you
Oh
agree
yeah,
like
it
Rita
is.
Farr be the female at the time?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm trying to find the scan first.
Okay, that's fine. I'll wait.
Is Milkman's first appearance in or like first like grown appearance is it in Milk Wars?
I believe so. That's the only time I've seen Milkman Man. It's in Milk Wars.
Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, it was in Doom Patrol. Alright, a man with a diamond ring puts me to sleep. He blows out candles and walks outside breathing in the night. He gets in his car and drives to the ocean. He walks across the beach to the water where he breathes and breaks. Yeah, this is another like weird fucking scan that they don't really explain later on.
Yeah, I just think that's after they got better technology or some shit.
Well, like I said, they don't give us a date and time when this happens. Like, mind you, this is implied to have happened within a short period of time because like you remember Milkman Man says like, oh, I don't remember being a baby. Like, I don't remember any of that. You know, I
Well,
was just a man.
that could literally just mean like that the information they added just erases memory.
Mm-hmm. But it's still
Like
would
and
further your point of
what we do know, right, specifically, is that them remaking Milkman Man happening after, right? So obviously they had something that let them.
well, the scan I sent
Um,
is presumably when they were injecting the narrative into the Superman within Superman narrative.
the scan you just sent.
Yeah.
The scan you just sent is like when
Yeah. No.
they
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
got
They
Milkman
found the
Man.
baby and then they put him. They took him out from the rocket ship and they put him in the chamber and injected him with the narrative.
Yeah, but yeah, that would just be after like they tried to go do Superman, which you still can't prove like the time frame and relevance.
What do you mean? Well, okay, this already shows that, like, after, unless you're saying that they just randomly, like, this is the copy they made. And mind you,
Yeah, I believe that. Is that not the copy?
yeah, no, it is. But
Oh, okay.
mind you, after this thing happens, right? After
Mhm.
this happens, like, she injects it in without yada yada whatever. They put him in, like, they take him out the rocket ship. They take him out. They put him back in. This is after like the creation of the copy, presumably. Like they make the copy, and mind you, within like they're talking about it. They're talking about like, oh, and then we made a copy because it's schematics. You can copy schematics, and then once they pulled out the baby, they put him in the rocket ship that fired him into said thing, and then adding their own narrative or whatever, right? Like we can both agree on that. That was what happened.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say it happened like literally right after. I'm just going to say it happened.
Well, it was right. It was clearly right after the clone was created.
No, I'm talking about like after they like affected, like tried to go against the real Superman, they just instantly found the baby. I'm not going to say that. I think
What do you mean?
I think there was some brief time period that obviously let them be able to affect this something of equal importance to thing they couldn't affect earlier.
Yeah, but that's just like baseless. There's nothing implying that other than like just like
Well,
like
the
other than just
the
like trying to say that like they're
it's not basically the evidence for it
well, your base
is
is the
just
fact
from
that
the
you think
statements that they make
your base is the fact that you think
that they couldn't affect this one thing. They found something equal to this one thing, and then they affected it.
And I've already argued against that. I've already said that they haven't actually affected it. They've just been added it. They haven't added anything directly to the story of Superman. They just put something on top of it as another narrative.
That is just them like affecting it. That's like you saying that 1+1 is the same as one
And I'm
plus
saying
one
that they wouldn't.
plus
The
two.
narratives themselves would not be added together. They would just be like coexisting.
The problem is that by that logic, you still cannot say 1+1 is the same as one plus one plus
I'm
two.
saying that in this case, it wouldn't be 1+1. It'd be 1 and then another 1 next to it.
Okay. You are you saying that one with another one next to it is the? Are you trying to say the real? Okay, we're gonna just make a distinction like this. Are you? How are we like saying what the real Superman is? Are we gonna say he's a 1 and no extra numbers? He's just a 1.
What do you mean? Like no. Actually, I guess
Okay.
the analogy of numbers doesn't work. So let's
Yeah,
just say it like
let's say
this.
X.
Let's say X.
Superman's X.
Sure.
Right?
Like they're
Yeah,
X.
Superman's X. And then Milkman is a copy, so he's also X.
Mm-hmm.
I put C by mistake.
Yeah, it's alright.
You already know it's not X, it's X, right?
Okay.
And then they add something to X. Right?
That's what I'm saying. They're not directly adding something to X. It's like, how there's two sides to a brain, but there used to not be two sides? Like, how we eventually evolved into growing two sides of a brain?
I don't think that is the case. I think we're clearly like 3-dimensional beings, so we start off with like two sides of a brain.
What? No. No. Sorry, I mean, that's not what I meant. I meant like, how like we have like the left brain and the right brain, right? I'm not saying
Okay.
two, like not in a dimensionality sense. Like we have the left brain and the right brain. Like they coexist with each other, but both are they're different. They're not the same. They have different things, but they coexist and they make up. And they're two different things. They have two different abilities and not abilities, but two different processes. That's what I'm saying that these two narratives are. They don't mix and don't change the story of Superman. It's just two of them together.
The problem with this is that the
two of them
only
together
problem
working to
with
create
this
the narrative of Milkman.
is that this variable of C that they added lets them control X at a later time frame.
I thought you didn't even mean to put this.
Whether it be added or it's just something that's coexisting, it still lets them control X at a later time frame.
It's not controlling X. It's like I said with the analogy. Okay. It's not controlling two separate entities.
Superman was just fighting against people who he didn't want to fight against.
What do you mean?
Like it was like he was like in Milkward, they were obviously saying like he didn't want to fight them. They're making him do this.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so that would just mean that whatever they implanted into him, whether it be added or just coexisting, is controlling him. So they obviously got technology that can affect it.
And then the story of Superman is the reason that he's not just doing it blindly. It's not affecting the story of Superman. It's just like two of them are like fighting against each other. It's like that.
What?
It's like, okay, the reason that, like, the narrative that was implanted in him, which is, like, the reason that he's evil and giving out the milk and whatever, and then the reason that he's also not trying, he doesn't want to fight people and he knows he's being put against each other, against these people, is the story of is the concept.
No. He does fight them. He just tells them that he doesn't want to do it.
Exactly, and I'm saying that the reason that he's not just a mindless, no soul having with some fucking random, like, not a part of him narrative injected in him is because of the fact that there is also the story of the narrative of Superman into him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm just gonna say that is still like showing that they can affect this thing later on. So they obviously did something or got something that upgraded their potency. So that just reaffirms the statement, along with Milkman being able to just see it and just know he was getting erased. But we can move on to like a.
I was gonna say, yeah, we can just do like conclusions and let Dream go over this one.
Yeah, but like I just want to attack this point again.
What?
I just want to go back to an argument I made earlier. I don't know if you heard it, because that was like around the time I maybe supposedly cut out. But you agree when you talk about a specific situation, it would include everything inside of it, right?
Well, it depends. Do I have full knowledge of said situation?
Oh, excuse me.
Like if I'm assuming in this case you're referring to the person who was like, oh, this is on a grander scale than
I would assume so. I would assume so. Yes, you would have full knowledge because you know about the situation. You don't just say bits and pieces of X situation.
Okay, well, if she has full knowledge of said situation, knows every little nook and cranny about said detail, and knows everything about it, then sure.
Okay, so this person says that what Harley Quinn is doing is worse than. It's like much greater than Milk Wars.
And my argument against that is still the fact that she would not have a full idea of what happened in Milk Wars and not know the full scale of what happened.
Now, to support that Harley Quinn is disaffecting things on a much greater level than Milk Wars, you understand Rita Farr would just how would I put this? She's like Rita Farr would just embody that and more. Because he's like the white page and everything at that time.
Sure, she'd embody, like, if we're saying that, like, the white page in this case would be the Overvoid. But like I said, we've left that point of, like...
No, I'm just saying the white page at that point would just be, like, because obviously it's not Overvoid, because, like your argument's, like, which we'll call it Final Heaven's above it, right? So, by your logic, like, it wouldn't just be the Overvoid, it'd be something... Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that was your argument. So, it'd be, like, it would be something above it. It would be something that embodies the Final Heaven, Story of Superman, all this stuff.
Well, I think what she actually was doing was just saving the narratives within the Overvoid from getting erased. That's that's what they were doing.
What? But you said Milk Wars happened like we already pointed out how Milk Wars was happening like in Final Heaven, so this wouldn't be happening over.
Okay, and I was saying before that the fact that Milk Wars, like, it was what was happening around them was the fact that all the narratives were being destroyed, which is why we led to the fact that the story of Superman would not be the thing. Like, while
But
all
that
the other,
wouldn't lead to the conclusion that she's inside the Overvoid. That would lead to the conclusion that she's in a realm that is Final Heaven that contains the story of Superman or something higher than that.
Okay, what do you mean there? All right, well, what I'm saying here is that she wasn't necessarily, like merging with things. She was just saving the narratives.
No, I'm just trying to argue. No, I'm just trying to argue, right? That at this time, at that feat, Rita Farr was just everything in DC at that time.
Like she merged with everything.
Yes, because it says verbatim. And even on the scan, I can see it all. Like that's literally what she says.
Can you post that? I think.
Yeah, and then in bottom right, she even says, "I'm in everything." So like, it literally would just imply that she just everything in DC at the time.
Also, given context, Rita Farr. Oh, excuse me. Given context, Rita Farr at this time was being tortured and would have no knowledge of what was actually going on, except until when she finally snaps and breaks out of the fucking whatever.
Yeah, but when she snaps, she would just be a part of everything at that time. So like, you do agree she's
at that point. So what would everything be to her?
So by your logic, right, everything at this point in time would be things that could resist or survive this erasure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so even by your standards in your argument, that would include the story of Superman, correct?
No, I've already argued it. I've already explained.
Okay, no.
Deletion would not.
So are you saying that this bomb can erase them or cannot?
It cannot erase the story of Superman.
Okay, so by your logic, you agree that he is within everything.
He is within everything. I guess but in everything is such a vague and broad statement.
It's not. Everything is pretty blatant. Everything is literally would just mean like anything that applies in that given situation. Like for example, I can break every door in this house wouldn't literally imply door like 1 through I don't know how many ever doors you got in your house. Like that's pretty blatant.
Okay, but if I make the statement of say I can break every door like on planet Earth, like what if there's just a fucking what if there's a door that's made of like pure titanium and backed up by a thing? Like that's such a broad statement. It isn't either it's hyperbole or it's just wrong in this case, and they're only referring to like a basic door.
So why are you attacking the scan? Why are you attacking like the defeat behind it? When I'm not trying to argue defeat, I'm trying to argue that when you say everything, that is blatantly talking about all things that fit the criteria of the category at the given point in time.
Okay, sure, and I'm arguing that the category at this certain time would not. It would include
everything that exists.
Why? That's why I was saying before that everything in this case.
So it's so weird, bro. I don't know why people just argue against baseline definitions. Like that's so odd. Let's just the definition of everything.
It's also a tournament, so I'm kind of tryharding right now. I won't lie.
Man. Tournament or not, you just literally shouldn't argue against definitions that are just like commonly in society.
Well, I guess maybe if I wasn't tryharding right now. But
okay.
like
definition
I said,
everything
in this case is very contextual.
Everything, all the things of a group or class. I think it's pretty blatant. She says verbatim, right? In the scans, like, I'm in everything. I can see all. I can see all. I'm in everything. I can
see it all. We're all gonna blow up. I'm in everything. Rebooting.
Like, I think it's pretty much saying like, at that point in time, everything that still exists. So.
And she's just like rebooting the narratives or whatever, right?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
So Rita Farr would be, in my opinion, should be stronger, than your character.
I would say no. Well, hold on. Let me rephrase that. I wouldn't say it's incorrect, but in this case, the concept and story of what Superman is, or the narrative. I keep saying story. Let me stop saying that. The narrative of Superman, like I explained before, would survive this, and why would.
Yeah. I'm saying that, like, obviously, sure. Let's say by your argument he survives, right? That would just lead to the conclusion that that's within Rita Farr, so Rita Farr would just get upskilled because it would embody that plus more.
Yeah. All right. I guess. Sure.
Okay. Here is, and okay. You agree I'll even prove this if you have a problem with it. This Harley Quinn comic came out after Milk Wars, obviously, because of that statement. And not only that, I can give you like the time frame when the comics drop.
Yeah, well, yeah, fucking, yeah, sure, yeah, definitely.
Okay. And after seeing Harley's feet, right? Not it's the same scam, but there's a different statement out of it. It says verbatim. Hold up, it's loading. It says verbatim. She destroyed. She like retconned everything in DC continuity at the time.
Did she?
So yeah, it says I'll post it. Like it says it right there in the same thing where it says this is much worse than Milk Wars.
Well, I'm not like
So
inherently surprised though. Like I know what's
yeah, so that would just mean that since the story of Superman survived, she retconned the story of Superman. Since obviously everything would also be in context that survived, that means she retconned everything. So it's literally like
Wait,
she retconned something really as far as level.
Okay, and what is like this referring to? Like she was writing in the book or whatever. Like
What?
like the book beforehand. Like there was a book she was holding. Like when she was with her mom.
Talking about Harley. Yeah, Harley.
Like,
Harley
oh, no,
like
don't
read
press
a.
that fucking button.
Harley like read a book. She was like looking at a book, and just her casually reading just like destroyed everything that existed in the DC cosmology so far. Like every continuity.
It wasn't that simple. There was like a girl that popped up in the comic. I was like, oh Harley, don't fucking touch that. That shit will do.
That was the girl that came in and said the statement like this is much worse than Milk Wars. Like all she was doing was like reading a book, and like her mom got erased, but Harley was just fine. And I can even post there in a comic where like Harley performs like the same feat, but I think this is just enough.
Us reading this comic, Mom. What's that? What the heck is going on here, Harley? And I don't like this, Mom. Something is wrong with me. Harleen, what is? Gotcha. Hang on, Mom. Don't leave me.
Her mom got erased, and then like right. I'll post like the full thing, like
I'm
right after her mom got erased. This character who knew about Milk Wars or like just was at the time from during Milk Wars, like literally says, "What the fuck, bro? Put that book down. You just like did something much worse than Milk Wars. You erased all DC continuity." Like
yeah, drop
like
that
such
comic. All of reality depends on it. Yeah, I'm reading this.
Yeah, so like by that logic, like Cop Harley Quinn would include this, and then like she can just do this. So.
Conf Harley Quinn would include the one that like thing, whatever. But who is like I'm still trying to figure out who the fuck this person is.
Yeah, I don't really think that's relevant. Like I think my second argument definitely like changes the whole argument, and that's what mainly needs to be addressed. I think right now that just figuring out who this person is will be more like a subsidiary point.
Okay, I guess yeah, but all right. At that point, then I just argue that Superman blitzes her before she has a chance to do anything.
Okay.
Like like
that's all. Okay. How fast do you have Superman?
how fast do I have like Milkman Man should scale above like regular like any Superman.
Yeah, but like how fast do you have like Milkman, Superman, whatever? Like how fast?
You can just get him like fucking like high and out reversal due to like well I guess
that's an AP tier like unless like I'm.
Oh yeah you're right. No I was talking about like. Depends, because if we were still on the topic before of like the like whether or not it's beyond the overvoid, but if anything, if like it is within the overvoid, then it would still be faster than anything Harley's ever done.
Yeah, but it'd be like this, right? Because here's how I'm gonna argue this, right? If you want to say that these characters surpass overvoid, I'll just say that's fine. That just upscales Harley Quinn. She's also above the overvoid. But
yeah, but I'm talking about speed.
Speed tier. Does Overvoid even have a speed? Like, what the hell? Like, what does he do?
Who?
Yeah, what does the Overvoid do? And that's even relevant in terms of speed?
Overvoid just makes like all lower concepts just fucking irrelevant. Like there's a statement of that. I'll grab that. Man, that was cracked the fuck out of my neck. Well, I guess all right. I'll just upscale like I'm trying to find the statement of like the overvoid's got like fucking like the lower actually it might be a statement from the source. Alright, I'll just use like the monitor sphere or whatever. Like, it's like moving around within the overvoid should be faster than anything like done in the monitor sphere.
Not necessarily.
Well, even then, I don't think Harley Quinn has anything that puts her above like the monitor sphere.
Here, I'll get some feats. Hold on, I'm gonna rejoin VC because I'm kind of lagging. I'll restart my Discord.
Yeah, like space, time, and shit like scale higher. Like they're like higher levels and higher levels of whatever. Oh, you left. Never mind. Pause the recording until he gets back. Bring it back if you want to go back over.
I'm recording you now, so
okay.
It's fun.
That's good. That's good. Pull back up the comic.
The reason why I'm saying not only did you make the burden of proof first, so you would have to prove it, but like I'll even then it's fine. I'll give my interpretation as to why it's just her flipping the book. Because it was just the book itself expanding. Her putting the book down would do nothing. So
Yo, don't tell me y'all still going.
We are.
Well, almost done. It obviously would lead to the conclusion that her flipping the book is what caused it. Okay. So that means flipping the book has
even in the scans, she's not reacting to the book itself. She's reacting to like shit around her. Like she's like, oh, she looks in the book and that's like, wait, isn't that me reading the book? She's not reacting to say the attack of the book.
That's
she's
really her just reacting to her reading the book, and the book is what caused this attack.
Her surroundings change, not the expansion of said book.
You understand? We're debating on if the book even expands in the first place. I'm arguing that you flipping the pages is what caused this destruction, because it was just the book itself. She wouldn't even need to touch the book. Her putting the book down wouldn't do anything. And but obviously her stopping...
Her flipping through the pages does not scale to her reaction speed or whatever.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Because that would just mean that she's able to flip the book so fast it just destroys everything in cosmology.
What implies that flipping the book that fast was the thing that was doing it?
Because if flipping a book, period, because look, right, let's say like flipping the book doesn't help you, then that means that her just not even touching the book would already been doing it, but that obviously just wasn't the case. Like her flipping the book is what caused it.
What? Okay, her flipping the book is what caused it. Yes, but that still doesn't scale to her speed. Like, sure, like put it like this, like a character, like does an outer versal level, like hacks in this. I'm not saying the attack is hacks, but I'm saying that like the character in this case is doing like an outer versal level hacks. They wouldn't scale to the speed at which the hacks does its thing. It would do it like instantly. Like, oh, okay, I do said ability and it fucking does the thing. It fucks up the continuity. But it would not scale to my speed.
I think she would, because not only she's reacting to herself reading the book, she's also reacting to somebody getting erased by the book. So
yeah,
she's reacting to two things.
And we see that the erasure of her mother is not instant.
She's still okay. You agree she's still moving. You agree she's still moving, comparing, and seeing what's happening, right?
What do you mean? Like she's reacting to the stuff around her changing?
No, she's reacting. She's obviously moving her body as well. Like she's turning around, hugging her mother.
Turning around, yeah, like she kissed her mom or whatever. But
So that means she's obviously moving in comparison. So she does just scale in terms of speed.
Well, who's to say that this attack I keep saying expanding. This attack happens instantaneously. Like, it's obviously happening over a slow period of time because even her mom's capable of reacting. Like, oh, like, what the fuck is going on?
The problem is, let's say it does happen over a slow period of time, right? The problem with that is you would have to argue that it's happening so slowly that it just moved like irrelevantly less. Like it just got like a whole tiers of irrelevant speed.
I'm not arguing that she doesn't like. All right, I'm not arguing the speed of said attack. I'm arguing that like the area of effect around her, she doesn't scale at which like it expands.
Wait, okay, but that's the problem. That's the problem. I'm arguing that she does scale to the area of effect because not only does she read it while it's happening, she also just sees and is able to move while the erasure is happening as well. So she's obviously moving in comparison to the area of effect.
Okay.
And then not only that, she tanked it as well. So
what? Say that again? I didn't hear you at the end.
I said not only that, she's also just tanked it as well. Like
she's tanking it as well, I guess. But is she's not even being affected? Is she being affected by it?
That's the problem. She's not. Like she just tanked it. Like
wouldn't that just imply she has a resistance to it?
Still is higher than Superman. Like.
Well, yeah, but it'd be like a hacks resistance. Like the book itself is the thing that's doing it. She doesn't inherently like the book, the thing it's doing it. You know what I mean? Like if a character resists things like time stop. It doesn't make them 4D or whatever. They just have an inherent resistance to said attack or said hacks in this case. Now, I'm saying that, like, of course, in this comp scenario, she would have this book, but due to the fact that she have a resistance to said hacks in this case, she would not. It wouldn't scale to her durability either, due to how the ability works. She was the one turning the pages and doing it. She's the one activating said ability, so it's relevant to assume that she would have a resistance to it.
She's literally looking at herself, flipping the book over and over again, and then taking the attack multiple times based off of that deduction. Like,
what? How?
I don't know how.
Where does it show her taking an attack? They show like her mom taking an attack, sure. Like,
No,
her mom is like fading away into
her mom gets a
petals or
raise. Like that's not taking the attack. Her mom gets a raise. Like Harley Quinn doesn't get the. So like it's obviously she.
So you're saying that she's just tanking the resistance erasure?
Yeah, like it's fine.
Yeah, but that wouldn't scale to her inherent like blunt force durability.
I think it would.
Why?
Okay, so you obviously agree. Like if for example, like evaporation of a certain object would be much greater than this, like,
actually,
punching and hurting a little bit.
I wouldn't even say this is, like, inherent erasure existence, because she's not, she's just getting, like her molecular structure is obviously being changed here because she's turning into flower petals.
What? I just think that's for getting erasers, because it's literally just implying, like, everything got retconned, so.
Well, I mean, obviously, like, things are, like, the continuity itself is getting changed, but what's happening to, like, the people is different. Like, their narratives are being switched around and changed and whatever. But, like, what's happening to the people, like, they're just dying or whatever, and then their narratives are being changed by the continuity itself. I'm saying in this case, what's killed the mother in this case is her being turned into flower petals.
Also, you have this as well. I didn't get it.
What?
You have this as well. Here's, like, another if you just heard this, like, taking the thing.
This is all recorded, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm somewhat damaged, but she's obviously still there. Her body's intact.
Where does it show her damaged?
Look at her skin. Second scan.
Yeah,
You can see, like...
But I think that's, like, there's more context to that, too. Like, I'm gonna scroll down real quick.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, I don't think she was damaged inherently by, like, the thing.
Like, what they were doing is, like, they were, like, finding, like, the source of the problem. Like, they found the source.
Yeah, she's like running around, like getting hit by other things instead of, like she's getting hit by fucking T-Rexes or whatever. And these things were created due to the narrative changes and shouldn't scale to the set attack. And they were just created as like an offset.
I don't know if you can prove that like they wouldn't scale.
Well, in the context of set, we know that this attack was caused by narrative manipulation, or not narrative manipulation, like manipulating and deleting and like fucking with the plot entirely, like fucking with the narrative and stuff. It doesn't have anything to do with like an amping said creatures or whatever. It's not going through and like amping people. It's changing the narrative, so it's different.
I'm pretty sure she also just like, yeah, like this. Harley's hilarious. Just draws herself. She's just fine. Fucking tears everything away. She's just fine still. Like, she's hilarious.
She's like drawing herself. Yeah. Okay, I guess.
Yeah. Like she's fine. Like.
Yeah, that's just her using the ability
again. No, I'm saying like she like got hit by. They just multiple times got hit by it. Like you can see like she's in the proximity in the first guy I posted.
I'm saying that she's just unaffected by attack because she was the one who started it and caused it.
Why are you unaffected by an attack because you started it? Can you please explain that?
Okay, if I were a character, like, alright, in a sense, like, alright, if I can't output said attack, like take Darkseid, for example. Like, he states, oh, I wouldn't be able to output my Omega Beams if I couldn't take it, and like, if I couldn't take it myself.
So then you agree she just scales above this then, just based off that statement, if you're going to argue that.
No, it just means they have an inherent resistance to it.
What? Okay, but So because I can use water manipulation, it does not mean I resist more water manipulation.
Say that again?
Because I can use water manipulation, that does not mean I can resist water manipulation. That quote from Darkseid is obviously him talking about the AP durability ratio. He's saying, obviously I wouldn't use the attack if I don't scale to it, or else I would die if it hits me. Like he's saying that. Then obviously the context around that statement.
Okay, but in this case, I guess maybe that might have been a bad analogy then, sure. But in this case, then, it's like she's using an erasure damn it, existence erasure ability. Like she's erasing people from existence. It's also affecting the narrative or whatever and changing.
Yeah.
It. Like, we can both agree on that.
She's there, like I don't like. So it's obviously like that's either like she just tanked it, or like you have to.
Resistance to it.
But that's not the case, though.
Well, she's the one
unless,
changing reality. Why would she be?
But changing reality doesn't equal inherent resistance.
What do you mean? Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that the attack itself is what I'm doing. That I'm saying that because she's the reason that it was caused in the first place. That's the reason she's affecting everybody else around her. But
we see like the attack is surrounding her as well. It'd be like the same situation if I punch and managed to make like a fucking a huge wide AoE attack and it's surrounding me. Obviously, it should affect me as well. And if it doesn't affect me, it just means I scales above it. That's all it would mean. It just means I scales above it. So Harley Quinn just goes above something that can just fucking retcon everything that existed at that point in time.
Like I said, wouldn't that not just be retcon resistance? Like narrative manipulation resistance?
I'll still argue that's just durability because of the fact that being able to affect something at a much greater level, being able to affect a certain structure on a much greater level would just be a resistance in terms of durability.
Okay, no, it wouldn't, because, like, if a character can resist, say, like, a narrative thing, like, they can't view or narrative thing. Like, there's a difference between resisting a narrative-level attack and a blunt force attack to the skull.
You agree, like, narrative attacks would just be with erase physical objects, right?
Yes, but it's
they can change and affect physical objects. Right? That means it does have it can affect physical property of objects because obviously, like, for example, you agree concepts, right? They manifest in reality in physical form.
Yeah, like the forms, like the regular, like physical forms spawn off the concepts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously, chairs and shit and like structures would also be like not physical, but they'd be a structure. They would have some like durability and shit towards them.
Okay, yeah, but like in this case, instead of in
this case, the narrative is affecting these physical structures. And erasing them, right? So it would just mean that it's affecting physical objects, and then here is this person who's just resisting this thing that can affect both physical and non-physical objects.
I'm saying that if like that would like work for anything else, but in this case, her narrative has the resistance to it, and it wouldn't apply to her blunt force durability.
I think that applies in all cases. Like anything that can affect a physical structure, anything that is like intangible, anything that's intangible that affects like a concept or a narrative would just affect the physical object as well. Affecting the narrative or concept of a chair would affect the actual physical.
And I'm saying that her narrative has an inherent resistance, but that would not apply to her blunt force durability.
If her narrative is that strong, that means she's that strong. That's fine.
No, it doesn't. Her narrative and her regular durability are two different things. Like that doesn't.
Why is that the case?
What?
Why is that the case?
Like, okay, I'll give you an example. Like, well, let me think of one. Like a character, like all right, I'll just come up with something. A character creates a narrative, or like is fighting another person who has a resistance to narrative manipulation. These characters are both like street tier in the sense, but they just have really good hacks, like narrative manipulation hacks. They're affecting the other person's narrative and how the plot furthers forward. And the reason that like they're punching each other and they're just doing damage to each other wouldn't inherently scale their blunt force durability above their narrative. It would just be a different level of durability and a different version of resistance. Like their narrative would have a different resistance and their durability would have a different resistance. Which is why things like hacks resistance are a thing.
I think that some hack resistances just do scale your durability, and this analogy doesn't work.
Maybe in this case, not with narrative manipulation though.
I think narrative. Okay, what's the argument? What's the argument for narrative manipulation being able to affect physical objects?
The argument.
What's the argument?
Well, it's changing the way the plot progresses.
Yeah, but that still is just affecting the physical object. You agree?
No, it's affecting the narrative, and the narrative itself is how the physical objects progress.
What affects the physical objects? You agree?
How they progress, yes.
Okay.
And which is the reason why said narrative objects change.
A similar situation would be if you destroy the concept, you destroy all physical objects of that concept. And if you destroy the narrative, you destroy the physical progression of the object.
But if your narrative itself is unaffected by it, that doesn't mean your durability would be affected by it. It would just mean that your
Yes, it
narrative,
would.
which is
I literally just explained why narrative. I just explained why narrative relation, if it would affect other like concepts or just narrative,
and
would
I'm
also would
saying
just mean it can affect physical objects. And if that's the case, if you take narrative attacks, that should just scale to your blatant durability.
okay, and I'm saying that because your narrative, okay, like give it like this: if I write my own narrative on a piece of paper that like dictates the rest of my life, whatever, right? And and this is just like a real spent, like, it's not fictional. It's like, I'm writing down my future right now. Like, whatever I write down on this paper is what thing happened. And if I write that, oh, I get hit by a rhino, that's the end of my narrative. I'm dead, right? That would be manipulating my own narrative to a thing that, like, oh, my blunt force could not take that attack that was caused by a narrative manipulation attack, right?
That would just mean that like whatchamacallit, that object you make that can hurt you just scales to you, like, which would be fine.
How? Like, what implies that? It's just a regular rhino.
You don't agree I can like throw a punch as strong as my durability? Like, just like the same analogy would apply. Because I scale to my whatchamacallit, my source of power, I should be able to make a source of power capable enough to damage me. Like, that's just blatantly
I think
signs of
all right.
relativity.
I think we can just leave this point up to the judge at this point because it's getting circular. You want to do
Okay.
that? Just state our conclusions.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, you can go first. I want to take a drink of water.
I think I won this point because I'm arguing that the AOE, the expansion of the eraser, is this fast. And I just scale Harley speak that because not only was she just reacting to herself, reading the comic, which can do that, she also just reacted to things that were just getting erased by this expansive AOE. She was able to move. She's able to comprehend what was happening. So she wasn't just getting blitzed. So she does just scale to those things. Um, I also think I won this durability point because she was unaffected by the attack. We know the attack was affecting her surroundings, which would include her. Um, I also just gave the analogy, like, if you destroy a concept, you should destroy all physical manifestations of that thing in real life. And same thing with narratives, since if you destroy the narrative, you destroy all narrative progressions of the physical object. And so that just means that narrative attacks do affect you. Narrative and conceptual attacks do affect you physically, just based off of that deduction. And by that logic, Harley is resisting this. Therefore, she has resistance on the physical level. That's pretty much it.
Okay. I think I won this point due to the fact that I managed to prove, or not prove, I guess. I managed to say and show the fact that being able to resist an attack on a narrative level would not show show the same effects as taking a blunt force attack due to the nature of the narrative attack and due to the nature of a blunt force attack and how they differ in the way each one causes. I say that a narrative attack can cause a blunt force thing, but if a narrative attack, if you can resist said narrative attack, then the blunt force thing will not happen at all. You won't have a durability that scales to the narrative attack, but you would just have a durability that's regular. That's why like a Hax would scale above you. That's why I think I won this durability point. As for speed, I think the fact that she wasn't reacting to the attack itself, she was just reacting to the effects of the attack. She was just reacting to the beings around her turn to flowers, like her mother, and etc. That's what she was reacting to. The fact that she was just turning the pages was just causing the attack, and that's why the speed of the attack itself would scale farther above her than just her regular attack or reaction speed in this case. And she would still, get blitzed by Superman. Or Milkman, same shit. Is there any more points you want to go over, or do you want to just state our final conclusions?
That's it. We can go to ending conclusions.
Okay.
Do you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, in conclusion, I think I won this debate due to the fact that I managed to prove that Milkman Man would scale above the Overvoid due to the fact that he exists in Final Heaven, which exists above the Overvoid. As for his scaling, as for that, I think my speed scaling was much higher than anything he was able to prove, and would be able to damage her doing, just by punching her in the face and killing her. That's why I think I won.
Okay. I think I won this debate because I think I pretty much basically scale my character like high enough to affect Milkman like a racist narrative just based off my like one argument where it was like, oh, this is doing more damage to Milk Wars characters who clearly know about or was there during Milk Wars. Just blatantly concede like this attack is much stronger than that event. Or my other argument, which wasn't really kind of uncontested, which was um since Rita Farr is everything, that would include at that point in time she was everything. That would include like the story of Superman and other things, so she would be stronger than that. And then I he kind of agreed to Harley Quinn's thing coming after that feat, and then like okay, it erased it just basically affected all the DC continuity. So that would include like that's basically include like everything happened prior. So that'll just be a blatant like upscale for her feat. Um, and I think I win this feat argument since she clearly just reacts to the not only her flipping the book, also the erasure, which is the attack that's happening and spreading across. I think it is, and I also think I won the other point, which doesn't really have to be addressed. That's pretty much it. And the debate's done. It's done.
Fucking
Stopping the recording in 3, 2, 1.